Yesterday morning, California Congressman Ed Royce, a Republican representing parts of Orange County, announced the introduction of House Resolution 583 to build on the momentum created by Kony 2012, the YouTube video and social media campaign to capture East African warlord Joseph Kony. The Kony 2012 banner hung high on the wall behind Royce, and Invisible Children's staff gathered around him in his district office in the city of Orange in Orange County. At roughly the same time in Washington, D.C., movie actor George Clooney was arrested protesting at the Sudanese Embassy with several others, including Massachusetts Congressman Jim McGovern, the co-author with Royce of House Resolution 583, and the author of another new legislative proposal, H.R. 4169, regarding Sudan. The legislation blames human rights violations on Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir without reference to the ongoing conflict between Sudan and South Sudan, which has led to the shutdown of the pipeline built to transport oil in South Sudan to refineries in Sudan for export from its Red Sea port, Port Sudan. KPFA's Ann Garrison spoke to veteran Africa War correspondent and human rights investigator Keith Harmon Snow about the legislation and the underlying conflict.
Keith Harmon Snow, Congressman Royce and McGovern's proposed House Resolution 583 calls for action on the momentum built by Kony 2012 and for more funds for logistical intelligence and communication support for the African troops and U.S. Special Forces trying to capture Joseph Kony. It also calls for U.S. restrictions on, quote, any individuals or governments, including the Republic of Sudan, found to be providing training, supplies, financing, or support of any kind to Joseph Kony or the LRA. Could you comment on Sudan being singled out, even though none of these troops are hunting Kony in Sudan?
On being arrested, George Clooney made the statement, we ask the government of Khartoum to stop randomly killing its own innocent men, women, and children, stop raping them, and stop starving them. Clooney was all outraged, you know. The fact is the government of Sudan is not randomly killing people. Clooney's supposed outrage is ridiculous. Like Angelina Jolie, Clooney travels to and from Sudan with official Pentagon and intelligence support and protection. The U.S., Israel, and NATO are involved in a military, low-intensity conflict in Sudan involving guerrilla and covert operation forces. The U.S. covert war against Islamic Sudan began in 1990, and through decades of simmering low-intensity conflict, we have slowly but surely eroded the power of the Khartoum government and usurped their sovereign lands through all kinds of mass atrocities paid for by U.S. taxpayers. The very same U.S. and Israeli military and intelligence officials involved in these war crimes and regime change in Sudan were also involved and are still responsible for these same kinds of atrocities in Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, and Congo. And they work with George Clooney. These are the same people tied to the phony Kony 2012 agenda. So why doesn't Clooney protest the 10 million people dead in the Congo? The four biggest propagandists on Sudan are George Clooney, John Prendergast, an intelligence operative. You see him in the Kony 2012 video. Smith College professor Dr. Eric Reeves, and New York Times columnist Nicholas Kristof. These people imagine themselves taking a moral high ground to protect the people of Sudan, but this is just pure white supremacy. They have covered up the massive U.S. military, intelligence, and financial intervention going on right now in Sudan. They're presented as liberals, even progressive. They are published anywhere and everywhere they want, and everything they say is considered as if it's gospel. Of course, you look a little deeper and you find these expensive anti-gay, anti-women, anti-environment, pro-corporate interests connected to the Christian right behind them, because Christian South Sudan is Christian.
Congressman McGovern's House Resolution 4169 would create sanctions on any government or individual, quote, selling, leasing, loaning, exporting, or otherwise transferring military equipment to the government of Sudan or any person controlled or supported by the government of Sudan, unquote. But President Obama added South Sudan to the list of countries eligible to buy weapons manufactured in the U.S. during the first week of January. Do you see anything much different in this playbook than in that for Iraq, Libya, possibly Iran and Syria?
Well, South Sudan is already fully controlled by the United States, Israel, and its NATO partners. It's a U.S. protectorate. We already control South Sudan and parts of Darfur. What we're seeing is simply a sub-Saharan extension of the full-spectrum military propaganda attack that we're seeing against Iran and Syria, just as we already saw this with Libya, and we've seen it with Afghanistan and Iraq.
That was Keith Harmon Snow on proposed House resolutions regarding the hunt for Joseph Kony and Sudan. For Pacifica, KPFA, and Afrobeat Radio, I'm Ann Garrison.